So one of the biggest and most anticipated games for the month of March for me was, of course, Kirby and the Forgotten Land for the Nintendo Switch. Now, we played the demo. I really enjoyed the demo. I thought it was really good because after Kirby Star Allies, I was just kind of like, this franchise needs something. This franchise needs something different. It needs to sort of be reinvigorated and wake up, because Star Allies wasn't a bad game, but it was just so safe as far as design was concerned. It looked really good, but I mean, it was just super easy. It was a super easy experience. You never felt any sort of danger in the game or anything like that. And the gameplay itself was fine, but it wasn't very new to what Kirby was doing. So with Kirby and the Forgotten Land, since we first saw this game, it obviously looked a lot like something different, something a bit more unique for Kirby. Now, I ended up picking up the game. I played through the game and beat it because I have no life, really. So I want to talk about Kirby and the Forgotten Land, what I really enjoyed about the game, what maybe I didn't enjoy about it, and whether or not you should pick it up. So we're going to dive into the truth about Kirby and the Forgotten Land for the Nintendo Switch and see if this is a game you'll want to add to your library. So, of course, this being a Kirby game, you have one of the most in-depth stories really of all time. There's betrayal, love, lust, you know, all sorts of... It's a Kirby game. There's none of that. Some Waddle Dees get captured. You got to save them. Who's capturing them? Oh, I don't know. I've never played a Kirby game before. Obviously, you're not playing this game for the story. It's not going to win Game of the Year or be in that contention because, you know, it doesn't have a deep narrative, and every game has to have a deep narrative nowadays that makes you feel emotions and cry. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that sort of stuff. But basically, you're in this weird world that you get sucked into. The Waddle Dees are being taken up by someone. You got to save them. And that's pretty much it. You know, there's a couple things that happen in the game, a little bit of twists, I guess you could say, but for the most part, it plays it very safe. It's just there to sort of give you a reason as to why you're doing this. Now, as far as the gameplay is concerned, I think Kirby and the Forgotten Land really goes in a different direction than what we've seen, because most of the Kirby games that we've seen for the past decade plus have been 2D side-scrolling experiences, and there's nothing wrong with that. But obviously, you can only do so much to keep those fresh and really keep those interesting. But where Kirby and the Forgotten Land sort of deviates from that path is more of a 3D experience. Now, it's not a full-on open world or anything like that. You have different areas that you visit, and in these areas it's broken up into different levels, all with a central theme like ice, lava, sand, amusement park, stuff like that. But it works well because they implement a lot of things within those levels to make them stand out and make them be unique. Of course, Kirby is the throat goat himself, so he sucks up everything around him, you know. That's pretty cool. And you get different abilities from different enemies that you come across. And these abilities will allow you to sort of play the game a bit differently and, you know, take advantage of certain things within levels. Of course, you have the Mouthful Mode, which allows Kirby to suck up even bigger objects because, I mean, he's the throat goat. What do you expect? And that's where I feel like the game sort of shines and, you know, separates itself from the other Kirby games, because in the demo, you get to play as like a car, a cone, and a vending machine. But in the full game, there's actually a lot more stuff that plays into the game. And even those abilities that you had in the demo, they sort of open them up. Like, there's segments of the game where it's like a race. And it's like, hey, this is better than Gran Turismo 7 because, you know, I actually feel like I'm accomplishing something by saving these Waddle Dees, by beating the lap in a certain time. I really like all the deviations in the gameplay because at its core, it's still a game where you're starting a level, you're trying to get to the end of the level, and, you know, rinse and repeat. But they throw enough stuff in there to make it really unique. The level design itself is really well done in sort of keeping just a more open mindset as far as how you're playing it. Now, it is still primarily a linear experience because you're, like I said, starting the level and you're going to the end of the level, but there's lots of hidden things within those levels, little branching paths, little stuff that you might not find on your first playthrough, or maybe you do, but you're just trying to get to the end of the level. I like that because it gets more into the replayability aspect of the game, and that's something that really shines with this game because the core experience itself isn't really all that long. I want to say I beat it in like 8.5 hours. I kind of did skip some of the side stuff, which we'll talk about in a minute, but the core experience isn't really super long, but it's the other stuff that you could do in the game that really opens up things. You have these things called Treasure Road stages that open up as you continually play through the game. You'll access a bunch of different ones as you go throughout the levels. They'll open up, and by doing these you can actually do things like earn these star things, and these star things are actually very important because it gets into the weapon crafting of this game. Because yes, there is sort of a crafting system with the levels as far as the levels of the weapons that you encounter. All the enemies that you suck up, you can actually level up those abilities in the Waddle Dee Town. Now the Waddle Dee Town is being rebuilt as Kirby goes throughout the game and saves the Waddle Dees. It opens up a whole bunch of more stuff that you could do within this town. There's mini games in the town. There's an arena mode that's actually really cool and really fun because you get a really cool unlock when you first do that. But I like that because it gives you sort of an incentive to keep playing the game, because there's a bunch of unlockable stuff that you can get. There's a collectible aspect of it with little gotcha things and stuff like that, with the little, you use your coins to do that. Like I said, there's aforementioned mini games. All the different Treasure Road things have time things that you're supposed to meet in order to like get the best time and stuff like that. It's optional. You know, you don't have to power up your weapons. You don't have to do these Treasure Road missions, but by doing them, you get sort of a bit more of a buff for Kirby. You know, it makes him a bit stronger than he was previously. And I feel like it's a lot of fun end game stuff if you want to explore that, because you enjoy the gameplay that the core game offers. And it gives you a little bit more incentive. It gives you a little bit more depth in order to play this game. And I really appreciated that. As far as the difficulty is concerned, I died once. And I mean, you know, that was more than I died in Kirby Star Allies. And, you know, it's still a very easy game. There's 2 difficulty modes. I can't imagine what the easier difficulty mode is. I did the standard mode. I think it's called Wild Road or something like that. I did that difficulty because I'm not 4 years old. I might act 4 years old, but I'm not 4 years old. And I can't imagine what that difficulty is like, because this game is, once again, it's not very difficult. The Treasure Road stuff is kind of the difficult stuff because you're trying to beat things within a certain time limit. That's where the challenge comes in with the game. And you know, that's fine. I think we just need to move past the whole maybe Kirby games will be difficult once again, because Kirby's Adventure on the NES was a very challenging game. Like the first Kirby game was a very challenging game, even just doing like the basic stuff. So I don't know, it's how Nintendo is, but I think the accessibility is good, and there is that additional challenge should you want to seek it out. Presentation wise, you know, we read a review a couple days ago on the channel talking about the graphics of the game, and one reviewer was like, oh, you know, this doesn't look as good as other Nintendo games. I don't know what game he played, but I think this game looks phenomenal for a Nintendo game. First and foremost, it's a very smooth experience. Yes, it's only 30 frames per second, but you don't really notice it because it sort of suits the game style. Now, there are like little pop-up things in the background that happen from time to time. Sometimes enemies in the distance will have like a lower frame rate until you get up close to them, but there's so much creativity in the level design. There's so much creativity in just this world that you're exploring as Kirby that I feel like it's just a great game to look at, especially on the Switch OLED screen. Good God, those colors just pop like crazy. A really sharp looking game, and I think right alongside and right in line with other bigger Nintendo releases. So I'm not sure where that whole graphics debate is coming into play, because I think this game looks great. The orchestrated music is really well done as well. The snow level, like the snow area that you visit, I really like that overarching song. I'm probably going to use it as the background song of this video, but it's like very chill, you know, almost like a little bit of a prog, you know, rock song kind of thrown in there. It's really interesting. I really like what they did with the music. Of course, Kirby sounds like the most effeminate thing in the world, like, you know, it's whatever. It's just how Kirby is. I'm going to show love to Kirby for doing that, because that's just his vocal style. Now, as far as what I don't like about the game, there's really not a whole lot. I will say the difficulty thing was kind of annoying. I was hoping for a more difficult experience, and the fact that the main game can be beaten really in like 8.5, 9 hours, you know, that kind of sucks as well. But I feel like there's so much end game stuff in this game that it sort of overshadows that. You can sort of look past it because of the fact that, you know, like the arena mode is just so much fun. The mini games are so much fun. You'll want to go back and do things like collect all of the Waddle Dees as well. There's lots of missions that are in the game as far as the levels are concerned, that you're not going to probably beat them on your first playthrough. You're not going to find every Waddle Dee on your first playthrough. I guarantee that, because there are some where it's like, I swear I got all of them, but evidently I missed one or two, or I missed this side mission, and the side missions are very random. They don't unlock until you actually do them. So I feel like the replayability of this game is actually very high, because aside from your core adventure, you have a lot of stuff to come back to and revisit. You can also play the game in local co-op mode with a friend, but I don't have any friends that want to sit there and play Kirby with me. It's Kirby. It's the throat goat. Like, how are you you can't really sit there with a friend and be like, oh, look at how I suck this up and fit it in my mouth. Like, you know, things could get very interesting if you go down that road, and that's the sort of, you know, thing that you're trying to project into the world. But overall, the truth about Kirby and the Forgotten Land is this is a very, very solid game. It might not be that Breath of the Wild moment that a lot of people were looking forward to and hoping for with this game, but not every game needs that complete huge refresh. It kind of needs to go back to explore different types of games within the game itself, and I feel like the 3D aspect definitely opens up this game a lot more. I love the creativity of the levels. I love the character design of Kirby. You know, there's no story, but as far as what you could do in the game, as far as all the unlockables are concerned, as far as just all the end game content is concerned, there's a lot of stuff here. You could sink a lot of time into this game, and it's very enjoyable for the whole time you're playing it. You just kind of got one of those stupid grins on your face, because while the game might not be, you know, the most deep narrative story in the world that's going to tug at your emotions, it does manage to tug at one emotion, and that's the joy emotion, the happiness emotion, because you just have fun playing this game. It's a very fun game to play. You'll have a stupid smirk on your face like I have in all of my thumbnails, because I don't know how to take a proper picture. I don't know how to smile. The throat goat is back, though. The throat goat is back. Kirby, fantastic game. Definitely enjoying it. I'm going back and doing some of the end game stuff today because I'm just having fun with it. And that's really, at the end of the day, that's what a video game is supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun. Fun is very subjective. What's fun for you might not be fun for the next person, but I feel like a vast majority of people are going to have fun with Kirby and the Forgotten Land. So let me know in the comment section down below if you picked up this game, if you've been kind of hesitant on it. It seems like a lot of people are sort of waiting on this game, but don't wait. Like, it's a really good game. I understand that Star Allies might have been a little bit disappointing for you, but this is a really, really good game, and definitely a game worth talking about and a game worth checking out. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share if you really enjoyed it. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Later. I'm supposed to say next video, not next episode.